3 baby namings in 2 days. Yesterday we had Rabbi Yisrael Green name his son David, and today we had Eli name his daughters Shalva and Batsheva. And at the bris yesterday, Yisrael explained the reasoning for the name. Not something that's required to do, but it has become quite popular to explain the reasoning for the name, and I imagine Eli in due time will make a kiddush and explain perhaps why he chose those names. Again, something that's not required to do, but people like to do, become almost customary. And it turns out there is precedent for naming, explaining the reasoning behind the name in this week's parsha. The Eis Shnei Baneha, Tzipora comes with your father Yisro and her 2 sons to reunite with Moshe and the Bnei Yisrael. With her 2 sons, Asher Shem Ha'echad, the name of the one was Gershom, and the pasuk doesn't just tell us his name, it explains the reasoning for the name. Ki Amar Ger Ha'yisi B'Eretz Nachria, because he said, I was a stranger in a strange land, and the name of the other one is Eliezer, because Hashem helped me. Reasonings for the name. Moshe himself was named Moshe. The pasuk explains the reasoning for the name. Ki min hamayim eshisiu, because I was drawn from the water. The Chizkuni explains Moshe's name wasn't Mashui, someone who was drawn from water, but Moshe, who draws. That to say the significance of the naming event, that just as he was drawn forth from the water, so too Moshe will be one who draws forth the Torah and brings it down to the people, who draws the people out of Mitzrayim, who draws everyone closer to Hashem. But while it's customary to name and explain the reasoning for the names, what would be very unusual would be if 5 weeks from now Yisrael Green makes another kiddush and explains again the reasoning for the name David, why he chose that name for his son. It already happened. And so the question is, Gershom ki Amar Ger Ha'yisi B'Eretz Nachria, that already happened in Parsha Shemos 5 weeks ago. We read it. It's in the end of Parak Beis in Sefer Shemos. Why is the pasuk repeating now that Gershom's name was Gershom, and this is the reason, because he said Ger Ha'yisi B'Eretz Nachria, because Moshe said I was a stranger in a strange. We know that already. Eliezer wasn't mentioned before, but Gershom, it's the first time. To understand this, we have to take a step back and think about Moshe and his childhood, who he was. Moshe grew up in the house of Paro. And when he was young, coming of age, the Ramban says as early as age 12, Moshe left the house of Paro. He saw the slavery, the persecution. He saw his brothers and sisters being whipped by their Egyptian taskmasters, Vayaches HaMitzri. And he kills the Mitzri. And from that moment, Moshe is a refugee. He's running away from Mitzrayim. From place to place, until he makes his way to Midian. Now, Midian is not a third world country. Midian is a cosmopolitan center, a metropolis, a global power, where people are sophisticated, people look nice, people are affluent. And Moshe is not just a stranger there. Moshe marries the daughter of Yisro, the Kohen Midian, number 1. He was presumably they lived with great prestige and stature and status and servants. And Moshe doesn't come back to Mitzrayim till he's age 80. Who knows? He could have been in Midian for decades. So why is it that when Moshe has a son born named Gershom, he says, because I said I was a stranger in a strange land? What do you mean you're a stranger in a strange land? Midian? Midian's home. You're established. You have put down roots here. Where's your homeland? Mitzrayim? You want to go back to that cesspool with the slavery and the persecution, where there's a price on your head? Says the Meshech Chochmah, the pasuk emphasizes, repeats, Ki Amar Ger Ha'yisi B'Eretz Nachria, to teach us about the character of Moshe, how selfless he was. If he was out for himself, he would have preferred Midian. I'm not a stranger, I'm home. But he was all about solidarity with the people. And if the people are suffering, I need to get back to them. It reminds me of Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, who came to America during World War II and went back. during the Holocaust, right back into the inferno, because he said, I have to be there, I belong with the people. And I was thinking, perhaps the pasuk is choosing to repeat it specifically here at the beginning of this parsha. The pasuk mentions it in Parsha Shemos before Moshe is chosen to take us out of Mitzrayim, to tell us the reason Moshe is chosen to take us out of Mitzrayim is because he was going to be an Eved Neman. He was going to be trustworthy to fulfill the mission, not leave anyone behind, because he's the person who, even though he's in Midian and has everything going for him, he says, Gera Yisi Beretz Nechri, I'm not home. I belong in Mitzrayim with my people. So we know he's going to be the person who's going to take them out fully. And again here, before Moshe is chosen as the agent to give us the Torah, if I would tell you I have the secrets to the universe, everything, you know these secrets, Nigla, Nistar, the power of reality in your palm, can do anything you want, manipulate things, can get power, wealth, anything you want. If you have the full chachma of the Torah in your palm of your hands, and I give it to you, and then I tell you, now, everything that I just gave to you, I want you to teach it to 600,000 people. Are you really going to teach them everything? Most people would not. They would be tempted to hold something for themselves in their back pocket. I'm not going to give all the trade secrets out. I'm not going to give every last recipe. I'll keep something in my back pocket as a competitive advantage. So for Moshe to be entrusted with this mission of transmitting the Torah in its completion, everything that he was taught from the Borei Olam, Nigla, Nistar, revealed, hidden, mystical, everything, Halacha Moshe Misinai, he had to be someone who was so selfless just for the people. And so the pasuk emphasizes again at the outset of this parsha, Ki Amar Gera Yisi Beretz Nechri, that's what Moshe was. No matter how much he had for himself, there was nothing from himself, and it was all for the people. So he could be the agent, the Eved Neman, to give us the Torah. And that's really, it brings to mind the role of a gabbai. All of us are involved in community service in one way or another. We have to serve our community, put the tzibur ahead of ourselves. And everyone contributes in different ways. But Reb Tzvi, who's celebrating the bar mitzvah of his son, has been our gabbai for 2-3 years, and no one comes to shul wanting to spend their time looking around and making sure this person's happy and that person's happy and this person got an aliyah and that person didn't get an aliyah. People want to come to shul to learn and to daven. If someone's willing to be a gabbai, it means they're willing to put the tzibur ahead of themselves, like Moshe Rabbeinu. When a person does that, like this gabbai, they should be zeicha to see nachas from all their children who will learn from them, and they will feel that duty and that achrayas to the tzibur, that connection to the klal, that connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which will bring nachas and the gula shleim of Meir V'meinu Amen.